Today I will be doing a bit of a different video, and as the title reads, I will be giving you some tips to how to become quicker in AMS2. And the first one isn't really AMS2, but it will make you quicker in AMS2. So this is actually from personal experience. So I have the Simagic P1000 pedals. I bought them myself, no sponsorship. And I used to have them at like the stiffest. So I had like the stiffest springs, and I only had like one spring, and I had everything else were these metal washers, thick ones, so you wouldn't get a lot of pedal movement. So I had like 2 millimeters or something of pedal movement, and I was at the start it was felt quite nice, but then when I was trying to do some world record lap times, I'm trying to be consistent and also brake a bit easier. No, I tried to brake around Monza. I felt that I couldn't really brake hard enough or well enough. And I thought, oh, why could that be? And then I tried to do it and do it and do it again a lot of times to try and practice, but I couldn't really get anywhere. So then I also read and heard a bit that maybe a softer pedal could help. So then I changed my pedal and made it softer, and now it works even better. So what I have is currently is sort of a two-stage feeling of brake pedal. So I have the first stage, which is the softest pedal, spring, which makes the pedal move like 2 centimeters or something, or closer to 1. And then the last stage, I have the hardest rubbers, so it feels a bit like you're pressing more on a brake pedal. And that's exactly how I want to feel it. So you have like that initial stage of movement, and then you feel the braking. So that's actually made my braking a lot better. And I also feel like it makes it a lot easier. So that's the first tip of the day. Second one, I'll have to jump into AMS2 for. Okay, so the second tip is actually a very useful one if you're driving like TT, qualifying, or actually in general doing races. Because you might be wondering, if you're like an F1 fan, as an example, you might be thinking, what tires should I use? Should I use softs? Should I use hard, medium, hard, wet? How do I choose? Well, wet's obviously only used when it's raining, but between soft, mediums, and hard, I haven't fully understood it before, but now finally I've actually figured it out. And what you do is, this is how I do it, because all of them, according to data me and a guy have gathered, we have concluded that all the tires have the same amount of grip at their operating temperature. And that is the most important part, the operating temperature. Because what I like to do is, for example, I will tell you about I was trying to do some good times around Silverstone in the Formula High Tech Gen 2 Model 2 with my old brake pedal. And when I was doing those, I did it first in softs, and the tires cooked quite quickly, and they were very hot, and I felt the low amount of grip. So then I put on mediums, and lo and behold, they were colder. I gained some grip, but they were still cooking a bit. So then I went into hards, and then they were always green, and they were always had a lot of grip. So that's something you need to think about, is that operating temperature, because that's what actually makes you choose between softs, mediums, and hards. And that also works in the F1 with the F1 tires. I have no idea how realistic this is, though. Any people who are more knowledgeable on this can comment it down below. But that's how it works in game, as I understand it. And that's the second tip. And for the third tip, we're going to exit the game. And I'm going to give out my third tip, which is drive as many different cars as possible. Because let's say you are very good at, you know, let's say for an example, no, not Bathurst, but a more normal circuit. Indianapolis, let's say you have Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. You know it very well. You know it as well, like the back of your hand. And you want to become better at it, or better in general as a driver. So instead of just driving the same car on the same track all over again, I would drive a different car around there. So let's say you learn it in the GT3 Gen 2. Let's say you learned it in the Porsche. Then what you might want to do is drive something which is very different. So maybe you try the GT1s from the late 1990s to get like more high performance and high downforce. And then maybe you move over and drive a Formula car because you want to feel it, how it handles, how to drive a track like that with a Formula car. And then maybe you choose a DPI, and then maybe you go back to an old Formula car. So it's always good to jump between different cars and not just jump like one lap here, one lap there, but do a lot of laps and then learn all of these different cars on a track, you know, because then when you're going to a new track which you're trying to learn, then you don't have to learn the car. And also if there's a track you know and you want to learn the car, then you can learn all of these different ones, and then you learn how to handle them, and then you can use certain traits from that car to become quicker in a different car. So in general you become quicker. So it's always good to try all of these and become quick in all of them, because they will make you quicker in other ways in different cars you weren't going to think about. And that also comes back to my fourth point, which is patience. And this in a way is like, you don't expect to be the quickest driver in AMS2 after just 1 hour. Do many lap times and do them in many cars and all of the tracks to become a better driver with patience. And that's, yeah, so for example, like maybe you're like top 100 around Hockenheimring in Formula 1 2018 or 19, like I was. And you might, or top 1000, not 100. But you might be thinking, oh, I must be really good driver then. Like I was also second world timer on the special stage around in the Swedish rally in WRC9, I think it was. And I thought, well, I'm a very good rally driver. But then when I jump over to like AMS2, there are always cars I find which I'm slow in, and I always wonder why. So then I drive it a lot, and then I figure out the nuances of the cars by driving a hell of a lot of laps, and then you understand it a lot more, and then you figure that out. And then also, in general, also with patience, also with like overtaking, defending, all of these things. Also just have patience and just don't dive bomb and just make yourself DNF. And then the fifth point, we have to jump onto track so I can explain it to you. Okay, so now we come into a very useful tip, which I don't think I've talked about it on here, but just here. One which is very useful, which I actually have got the clarification from one of the Dells at least, is that you don't always have to use a clutch when shifting. So shifting up, you can do it without the clutch, but I like to do it with a clutch, so it works a bit better because I've had the previous. And then also when shifting down, you only have to brake and then lift the throttle. So that's a tip. And then the last tip for today is maximize the track. So like around here, get like as wide as possible through here. So you widen the entry so you can easily hit the different apexes around the corner or the circuit, because in a lot of them, in a lot of corners, the track limits aren't that restrictive, you could say, or they aren't that, I don't know fully what I mean, but what I mean is they don't fully cover the whole off part of the track, so you can really cut the corners quite a bit in certain situations. So you can actually go a lot wider than maybe you would have expected, or tighter. So like here you can go really wide, enter. Here you don't want to, you can go a bit over the car, but then on the exit you really go wide. And for here again, you can go wide. But then you can go wide through there, but then you go through the gravel traps. So that's something useful for you to learn about. And that is the track limits where they are, because you can, if you fully utilize them, which when they are bad in certain spots, then you can gain a lot of time. That was a misshift, but it worked quite well, it seems. And you could see that I didn't get a track limits warning through there, which means you could go very wide there. And that was it for this video. So what do you think about this video? Comment it down below, and whilst you're down there, please hit the like button and also subscribe. My next video, we'll have to see what it's on, because yeah, I don't the update, they, as of recording this, they just released a video showing off the new AI, so there could be some changes very soon, or an update very soon. If that happens, I'll make a video on it. Hopefully it doesn't come anytime close to a test I have. So hopefully that works. And then, yeah, I have a few plans for a few videos. I have a few plans. I can just reveal one of them, which is maybe making a AMS2 iceberg video discussing the history and stuff of AMS2, which a lot of people might not know. But that's about it. But until then, I've been Racing Legend, you've been my amazing viewers. Thank you for watching. Goodbye!